everyone, and welcome back to my channel. So for today's, we've got another post from my writing group that I will probably put just in our coleslaw of my consciousness bin. But this one is a little unique compared to all the others, as this is one that I actually picked the prompt out for. So in my writing group, we each take turns picking out prompts, and this was my first one that I got to write. And the prompt that I did was basically I wanted you to think of an experience that you had with a friend and or family member, and then use that as a sort of starting point of writing out something, but doing it from their perspective and kind of focusing on their opinions and ideas about you, kind of a thing. So kind of trying to learn a bit about yourself while writing, I guess. When I originally wrote the prompt, I was kind of thinking, you go like to the zoo and then you write about that experience from their perspective, or you go on a picnic or something like that. But I was kind of struggling with those kind of ideas. Funny thing, since I'm the one who designed the prompt, but whatever. And eventually what actually inspired me to write my piece was going to church. I go to church every Sunday, so it's a big part of my life and a part of what I do. And I was just sitting there in the pews, and it was like, I've got it. I know what I'm going to do. I'm going to write that. I'm going to write that from someone's perspective. I don't know whose perspective this particular piece is from. I wasn't really focusing on that. You could picture maybe like the bishop of my ward watching over the warden happening to glance at me during the meeting, or perhaps one of my friends sitting with their family in another pew, something like that. The who in this case, I feel like didn't matter as much, since I just wanted to try to characterize myself and imagine what someone might see if they were watching me at church. So now that I gave that a big long intro that we probably didn't need, let's get into my piece. She was very much her own person. That much was clear from the get-go. She didn't follow the trends of those around her, not even those who she shared time with at church, and their styles were all perfectly modest, which did seem to fit her tastes. But whereas the other ladies of the ward had long hair usually pulled back or loosely waving, hers, though equally as long as the other women, was banged, and much more likely to be tied into twin pigtail braids than anything else. She wore no dyes in her hair, not even streaks or highlights, and by all appearances seemed mildly disdainful of anything resembling an ombre look. Even her clothes were mismatched to the religious crowd as well. The colors were not bright and flowery. There weren't any or many dresses that fell to the knee. Even though it was the heat of the summer, she was still almost always found in long skirts or dresses, and often was wearing long sleeves or a jacket, though the last may have related to the chill of air conditioning based on her occasional shivers. It was a pleasure to see her interest in the meetings. She would watch speakers, of course, but often scribbled notes in a small notepad she kept near her scriptures. It was pleasant to see such willing efforts from her, as she often sat alone. She had no family to come to church with her, and while she welcomed sitting with others if they asked, she didn't seem to require companionship to remain a faithful member, a unique trait indeed. She also seemed to love the music in the meetings, often mouthing the words to musical numbers, and always lending a willing voice to hymns that were sung by the full congregation, though her voice would often strike notes quite out of key. Not a perfect being by any means, but then who of us is? So that's my piece. I don't know if it's anything particularly exciting, but it was definitely fun to try and characterize myself and think about some things about me that people might notice. Um, some of it I maybe went a little too far in knowing myself, such as the disdain of the ombre stuff. Not that I think it's a bad choice if people want to choose it, but it's really not a choice that I make. So that's all I meant by that. And I maybe went a little too far in that statement because I don't know if you can actually see that I'm not really a fan of it just by looking at me. But I was just trying to characterize myself, so I think I hopefully did an alright job. If you have any thoughts or opinions on this and how maybe I could improve looking at myself from someone else's eyes, feel free to leave them down below. But yeah, I think that's all for this particular piece. So this is the Umlaut Herper signing out.